Forward to get to the gap. With MagMongoSlade. Shoot. He don't miss.
All right. Smackdown was on the air. So we got to talk about it. Nothing terrible. Some stuff that was pretty predictable. But I think that's probably the worst part of it is how predictable it was. So nothing that was terrible on the show that really kind of But there were some really bright spots on the show. Let's get right to it. We're going to talk about Grayson Waller and The Rock at some point in this thing. We'll get there eventually. All right, anyway. Bianca Belair starts the show saying it's hard to be patient when you really want something. She wanted this for this rematch since May. And not to mention the hoops that she had to jump through. Wasn't that many hoops. She just had to ask a bunch. She said tonight is her night, and that she's going to show Asuka that patience is a virtue and that vengeance is sweet. And she'll get a KOD and a 1, 2, 3 and a just too sweet. I'm sorry, that's not her gimmick. That's the Good Brothers gimmick. My bad. Charlotte interrupted, and I was like, oh no. Oh boy, here we go. Charlotte can't cut a promo. Her promo ability fell off. She just started stammering, and she was discombobulated, brain all knotted up. I don't know what's going on. Since she came back, her promos have just been not good. A whole lot of not good since she came back. Anyway, she eventually said that she hopes that Bianca will win because she wants next, and she likes the idea of wrestling Bianca. And Bianca accepted the challenge and said she wants to have the match at SummerSlam, but she didn't want to jinx it. So, of course, she jinxed it. So they agreed to wrestle each other at SummerSlam when Bianca wins the title, which Charlotte believes she will. So Charlotte is like, okie dokie, everything is great. I got Bianca's word that I'm going to get a title shot. She's probably going to win, so I'm out of here. So she's going to leave. She decides to announce to Adam Pearce that she's going to leave. And then, as soon as she walks off screen, Bayley and Io shows up with the Money in the Bank, and they're teasing using the Money in the Bank. And this means that Charlotte has to turn around and come back. Now, let's keep going, and we'll talk about it. So Charlotte comes back, and she has a ticket for the main event. Oh, they're doing that gimmick 2 weeks in a row with the ticket. So the main event of the show, which was interesting that they used this as the main event, but especially since the finish was going to be a disqualification. Bianca Belair versus Asuka. They did okay. I still don't think Bianca and Asuka have the best chemistry, of Bianca's any of Bianca's opponents. Asuka's not up there in terms of somebody she got good chemistry with. And sometimes people can be good, they just don't work together. And I think that's the situation here where I don't think Bianca and Asuka just work. I don't think they work out. It's really unfortunate. I don't think The Rock and Undertaker had good matches either. Like, each guy, great in their own way. They can have good matches with people that you wouldn't expect them to have good matches with. But when you put them together, it's just something about it that does not work. I don't think The Rock had great matches with Undertaker or Kane, if we're being honest. So sometimes people can be good and be over and things just not work out. So I don't think this match really was all that great. There was also a botch early but it was a production botch with them showing Rhea Ripley's video during Bianca Belair's entrance. I'm pretty sure some people noticed that. Anyway, they had the match in which Asuka basically just took a lot of offense and then occasionally did a submission hold here and there. Charlotte has a ticket. Bayley and Io are at ringside. They work their way outside the ring. Bianca KODs Asuka on the announce desk. Now here comes Bayley and Io. They jump the barricade. So as soon as they jump the barricade, Charlotte jumps the barricade. She then kicks Io and Asuka, knocking them. Io and Bayley, knocking them both down. She gets into an argument with Bianca because she is getting involved into this match, which she said she wouldn't, essentially. Then Io returns and some stuff happens, and Charlotte ends up knocking Bianca Belair down with a spear, and that's the disqualification. So now the match is over. People are kind of shitty about this because they're like, oh, what's happening? Why is it disqualification? Because of Charlotte. Just couldn't mind her own business. Anyway, Io blasts Charlotte in the face with the briefcase, and then she and Bayley decide they're going to put Asuka in the ring to use the briefcase. So Bayley, because she's the biggest of the two, puts Asuka in the ring. Io goes up for the moonsault. Bayley tries to cash in the Money in the Bank, and the idiot referee who is wearing an elbow pad. Like, why is the referee wearing an elbow pad? Even the wrestlers don't wear elbow pads, but this referee is wearing an elbow pad. Anyway, she's not taking the briefcase from Bayley because Bayley isn't the one that can use the briefcase. Io has to use it, which should have been noted by the commentary team that they were doing something they technically cannot do. Bayley cannot cash in the Money in the Bank on Io's behalf. Anyway, Asuka recovers, spits in Bayley's face, snatches the title, and runs. So that's the end of the show. Is Asuka like, phew, I survived another week of Io trying to cash in on me. And Io and Bayley looking like idiots. And Bianca and Charlotte looking like, obsessed idiots. Now, of course, the question would be, why would Charlotte come back? Why does she care? But since she made this ladies' agreement with Bianca, it makes sense that she's protecting her investment. She got Bianca's word that this match is going to happen. So she's got to come back to make sure that the match happens. She has to make sure that Bianca wins. Not necessarily being a babyface as much as, like I said, she's protecting her investment. So now they're going to keep teasing that Bianca's going to be mad at Charlotte and frustrated that Charlotte got involved in her match. But she also got involved with Charlotte's match, and then there's also going to be the frustration with Bayley and Io. So we're leaning towards a triple threat / fatal 4-way match. Oh, God. Oh, I hate it so much. Look, it's at least a storyline at the very least. But come on, make a decision. Get one of these people out of this situation and have them feud with somebody else. Why have one big story with 100 moving pieces when you can have at least 2 stories? Especially considering the champion currently and one of the challengers, Io, aren't really good at English, so they can't cut promos. So it's basically a Bianca-Charlotte feud. And if that's going to be the case, then maybe they should be the ones feuding. I don't know. But I get it. They want to save that match for some other time. And we're probably going to get the big cash in at SummerSlam at the end of the triple threat match. That's if they do a triple threat and not fatal 4-way. Because just because Io has the Money in the Bank doesn't mean she can't get put in a fatal 4-way match. So my guess is that they'll do a triple threat and then she's going to cash in that match. And then it will become a fatal 4-way and she can pin anybody. I'm guessing that's how it's going to work. Because that's how it worked when Seth Rollins did it. When it became a triple threat match, he could pin anybody. So if she cashes in and makes it a fatal 4-way, she can pin anybody. So that would make sense. But then do you go out of your way to have Io pin Bianca or Charlotte in order to win the title from Asuka? I don't know. That's kind of confusing. That's why I don't like triple threat ideas. I don't like that they actually building to a triple threat match either. It's whatever. That's the one frustrating thing about this. They're just really just slamming toys together. They're slamming their action figures together and seeing what happens in the end. I don't think it particularly makes Io look strong. I don't think it really has made Bianca or Charlotte or Asuka look strong. Asuka is a beatable champion, which is good. If she was unbeatable, none of this would make any sense. But the fact that you have essentially 2 baby faces in Bianca and Charlotte, and yeah, Charlotte is the best baby face technically, it's going to end up turning somebody heel because you can't have a situation in which baby faces are feuding and then everybody's just okay with that. I know that we're not doing baby faces and heels. Yes, you are. If you want this thing to work and you want anybody to get over, why are you muting the fan reaction by constantly having more than one babyface in the feud. If it was just Bianca and it was Io and Bayley keep getting involved, then that would be interesting. If it was just Charlotte and Io and Bayley kept getting involved, that would at least be more interesting because at least you have one babyface and 3 heels. But when you have half and half, well, now you're just going to mute this thing because people do want to see Io cash in the Money in the Bank. They are waiting for Io to turn on Bayley or for Bayley to turn on Io. So that situation is still about to be somebody about to get flipped in that scenario. But then you also have one of the pure baby faces in Bianca and sort of a baby face by circumstance in Charlotte. So I don't understand why we can't simplify this. Like, simplify your equations, please. Just make this just simpler. This feels like it's going to go on forever. That's why I say that this feels kind of complicated. This feels like it's going to be just going on and on and on of them just having matches and that's it. They're not going to actually, even if Io walked out of there with the title, she's got to wrestle all 3 of them. Well, 4 of them, because she's probably going to end up having to wrestle Bayley too. And if Asuka walks out with the title, then she made all 4 of them look like idiots because together they couldn't manage to sneak the title off of her. If Bianca wins it, she still got to fight all 4 of them. And if Charlotte wins, she got to fight all 4 of them. So this thing is just going to be going on and on and on. I don't understand why you had to book it this way. Do something else. All right, next. The first match on the show, Sheamus and Ridge Holland versus Pretty Deadly. Pretty Deadly win via cheating by removing the top turnbuckle and Ridge to Fridge. His chin ran into that joint and Pretty Deadly got the pin. It was solid enough. It wasn't terrible. Grayson Waller. So Grayson Waller cut a promo, said if he had more than 15 minutes, he would have beaten Edge. And everybody's talking about him, even The Rock. And he said The Rock's family is falling apart right in front of us every single week, but instead he's worried about Grayson Waller. So this leads to Grayson Waller's comment on Twitter, his back and forth with The Rock on Twitter. So he's talking about how his debut was bigger than The Rock's debut at Madison Square Garden. Now, a lot of you kids, some of you may know this, but a lot of you kids don't know that Survivor Series 1996, when The Rock made his debut as Rocky Maivia, it was in Madison Square Garden. So he won that match, by the way. The Rock did, by himself. He won a Survivor Series match by himself as a rookie. So he got a huge push, and people did not like it because I think he pinned Goldust to win the match. He pinned somebody else too. I think it might have been, who else? I think he beat like 2 people by himself. It was Goldust and Crush, if I remember correctly. Crush sucks, so it was okay. But Goldust was coming around to be a character that people actually liked. So folks were like, ugh, who is this kid with this really terrible haircut? And he beat Goldust and Crush back to back. Like, what is up with that? You know, people like The Rock against strapped to him. I don't like that. I don't like this kid. Anyway, so Grayson Waller said that The Rock's outfit was cringe and that his debut was better. So Dwayne Johnson, aka The Rock, responded, "Man, you're right. That outfit was so cringe. Here's what's more cringe. The fact you look and sound like you dropped out of some jabroni's balloon knot. Nice haircut, you Outback jack off. P.S. My cringe outfit was all Triple H's idea." So, The Rock does not acknowledge whatsoever that the Bloodline story is going on. There has been a couple of tweets and things like this where the people have noticed that The Rock is doing weird things while his daughter is in a cult on NXT and his cousins are fighting in the middle of the week every Friday. So I thought that was very interesting that The Rock, of all the things for him to respond to, he responded to Grayson Waller. So that's great. You know, nice little rub for Grayson Waller. I mean, for him to have had interactions with The Rock, John Cena, and Edge in pretty much 2 weeks, that's interesting. Like, who else has been able to get themselves that over that quickly? You know, The Rock is ignoring everybody right now, and he gave Grayson Waller a wink. I gotta say I'm impressed. Quite impressed with that. Now, if only his push would actually match what he's got going on. So, Grayson Waller cut a promo. They did a little thing with AJ Styles, and Butch was in a promo with Sheamus and Ridge Holland earlier, and Santos Escobar, well, no promo at all for him. So they're doing a United States Championship Invitational, which is a pair of fatal four-way matches in which the winners will wrestle each other, and the winner of that match will wrestle Austin Theory at SummerSlam for the United States title. There's not a storyline, by the way. This is just a series of matches that they refuse to call a tournament or create a tournament, which would have been more interesting if we're being honest. That's my first issue, is Triple H's over-reliance on just smashing people together. How many times has he done the triple threat tournament, the fatal four-way tournament, where he was just have a fatal four-way match just cuz, full of random people who got no business being in this match? Why the fuck is Butch in this match? Why is Butch the guy who keeps getting these spots? Why is this happening? You know, as soon as I saw him, like, in, like, the graphic, I'm like, does Triple H think this guy is some kind of top guy or something? Does he think he's some kind of star? He put him in Money in the Bank. He keeps putting this dude in these spots. There's got to be other people on this roster for you to use. Why the fuck do you keep putting Butch in these matches? You know, like, he's not that over. You know, we can do without Butch. Now, I could extend that a little bit to Santos Escobar, who seemingly barely, or if ever, fucking wins. Now, I'm surprised he actually won here. But I was like, Santos Escobar and Butch, he's really trying to make those things happen. Santos Escobar, don't hate it. I don't like the LWO gimmick because it just made them happy-go-lucky Latinos and kind of took away what was an interesting gimmick in Legado del Fantasma. It kind of nationalized it. When it was more like a clan thing, it became nationwide and international and all that horse shit. But whatever. I don't care. I don't care anymore. Anyway, AJ Styles was about to win this match, the Fatal 4-Way that is, when Karrion Kross appeared on the screen and had beat up all 4 members of the OC by himself, which is, okay. We're showing that Kross is still a force to be reckoned with. Of course, this is off camera, of course. We didn't get to see him kick the shit out of Doc Gallows. We just saw Doc Gallows rolling around with pipes and stuff laying all over him. And then he put Carl Anderson in the Kross jacket. We didn't see what happened to Mia Yim, who was wearing a rainbow bra, by the way. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Anyway, we didn't see what happened to Mia Yim, so she might have got hit with some sleeping powder or some of that Mr. Fuji salt in the face or something like that. Who knows? Then Karrion Kross barked at the camera that him and AJ Styles are not done yet. So while AJ was distracted, I think Butch, who was about to be pinned, got away. And this led to Santos Escobar pinning Grayson Waller to win the match. Good push for Grayson Waller, by the way. I mean, good way to capitalize on that Edge, Cena, Rock rub by having him lose to a guy who is less over than he is. And I like Santos Escobar. Big fan of Santos Escobar, but he has no business winning this match. He only won this match to lose the next one, which of course is why they book these silly fatal 4-way matches, because it doesn't matter who wins. It only matters because we need to move one person forward. We don't want them to beat another person one-on-one. So we want to have something where he beat AJ Styles. And I'm like, yeah, sure he did. He didn't beat AJ Styles. Get the fuck out of here. So Santos Escobar wins this match. Now the other fatal 4-way match is Rey Mysterio, Cameron Grimes, Sheamus, and LA Knight. Now, Rey Mysterio, Cameron Grimes, and Sheamus did backstage interviews. Rey Mysterio talking about being one step closer to the United States title. And he thought his career was over a year ago, but he's glad he's revitalized it with the LWO. Cameron Grimes going to the moon. He has no character development, no personality whatsoever. Sheamus, of course, had Austin Theory beat the first time. Austin Theory escaped him because of help with Pretty Deadly. But this time he's going to get him. So then they did an actual in-arena promo for LA Knight. The guy got a monster reaction. Everybody was going along with everything he said. It was just a love fest for LA Knight. He said that everybody's talking about him using his name to get clicks, but he's head and shoulders above everybody in the back, and that Austin Theory is in trouble, not just because somebody's coming for that title, but because he's coming for that title. He says, you can call me whatever you want. You can call me the GOAT, but you will eventually call me champ. And the crowd was there the entire time with him chanting along, yeah, everything. They were on the tips of their toes for LA Knight. So it's been amazing watching the love fest for LA Knight, the last couple of days as people go through and find commercials that he was in. When he was working as an extra in various places, it really shows an appreciation for a guy who hung around for a long time before finally getting a shot. So, if that didn't contradict his character a little bit, I would say they should use that stuff. Use him talking about doing all these commercials. Like he did like an Aldi's commercial. I didn't even know Aldi's had commercials. I've never seen an Aldi's commercial in my life. I've never seen an Aldi's commercial ever. Now, I do remember him doing the Overcharger commercial. I do remember seeing that because I think it aired during like Ring of Honor and stuff like that. So I remember that commercial. I don't remember the commercial with the ring and all that kind of stuff. I don't remember that. I don't remember him being a security guard or an extra or some of that other stuff. So him just being a guy who's been in and out of Hollywood, doing commercials, and he did mocap for video games apparently too. So he's been around. But the guy's, 40. So yeah, of course he's been finding ways to hustle and make money and, be seen. And I like that he acknowledged it in his promo that, everybody's using his name to get clicks. They're using his face. They're digging through his archives, finding out things that he's done. Where has he been? He was in Triple H's short-lived exercise video. That was probably one of the funnier ones. Because who in the fuck is such a wrestling fan that you own the Triple H exercise video? That's one of those Atlas Obscura WWE content things. Like nobody ever, who watches those things? There's at least 3 of them, I think. I think he did one, and I think Stephanie did one. And I think Vince did one, didn't he? I think all 3 McMahons did one. I know for sure Vince. I'm sure for sure Triple H and Stephanie did one. Maybe it was just Triple H and Stephanie. I don't know. But you have to be a super fan to have those. And those things came out on DVD. They wasn't like uploaded to the network. At least I don't think so. So you have to have the DVD. And then went from the DVD to put it on Twitter or something like that. That's dedication. This is why, wrestling fans are different from other sports fans. Like other sports fans do not go looking for some guy, looking for commercials that he was in or whatever, unless that guy is dead. And for a while, the way people were acting, I thought they had fucking died. I'm like, did this guy die or something like that? They going all these tributes and people are finding him everywhere doing all sorts of things. Like with this Where's Waldo aspect to it. It's almost like a love fest. Like, what's going on? But it was just people just recognizing that he had been around for a long time. That's all. So that was very nice. But he cut a hell of a promo, got people invested into what he was doing. I was very impressed. All right. So Jey Uso had been walking around all night, pacing like a wild lion. We find out through Michael Cole that Jimmy Uso has a, quote, ruptured rib cartilage and will be out for the foreseeable future. Ruptured rib cartilage. That sounds terrifying. That sounds awful. Now I'm not even going to Google whether your rib even has cartilage. I would imagine it has something. So we're just going to take his word for it. Jimmy's got ruptured rib cartilage. Yikes. So Jey Uso comes out around the 9 o'clock hour, Big reaction for him. He's talking about how him and Jimmy are connected, that being twins is special, and that if Jimmy is happy, he's happy. If Jimmy is hurt, he's hurt. And he says that he respects family. He respected the hierarchy, but when it comes to Roman, he got nothing but disrespect for him. And he's going to spank his little brother Solo like he did last week. He's going to get Paul Heyman for puppeteering his family for 40 years. So it's got to stop, and that he is now the head of the table. I was like, oh my goodness. He claiming it now. He's trying to manifest it now. If he was a hood rat, he'd use the word, I'm manifesting it. I'm glad he didn't. He's not a hood rat. Anyway, Heyman and Solo came out there. Heyman said that Solo was coming to enforce the peace to keep Jay calm. Then he says next week they're going to discuss the rules of engagement, meaning Roman and Jay will. Then he says that Jay's righteous indignation is making him sound more and more like a tribal chief. Then said that Jay has no self-awareness, and he doesn't have the consciousness to understand that what happened to Jimmy is Jay's fault. Then said, you were the one who wanted to rebel. You're the one who took over. The one who wanted to fight the tribal chief. And Jimmy knows it too. Jimmy knows that everything that happened to him is Jay's fault. And how can Jimmy ever forgive you? How can you forgive yourself? Solo will never forgive you. I will never forgive you. Your parents will never forgive you. Solo took the mic and then said that he will never forgive Jay. And that what happened to Jimmy is on Jay's hands. At that part, Jay and Solo start to fight. Once Solo went down, Jay and Paul were mano-a-mano, which got a huge reaction. Everybody was waiting for Jay to get his hands on Paul Heyman. Solo saved Heyman, then got taken out again. Jay then super kicked Heyman. The place blew up. The place exploded when Paul took, and Paul didn't take a bump. He mostly like rolled over. You know, he took a Paul Bearer bump where you don't really just boom go down, but you more like take an egg and stand it up and then just knock it, just like leans over. And like that's basically what Paul did. He didn't bump. He just rolled over. He had more for Paul. He went and got a chair. And this time Solo came back, took the chair shot, and got Paul out of there. So the segment ends with Jay standing tall with a chair. And it was very strong. Very, very strong segment. Jay is really good on the mic. The crowd was trying their best to ruin this segment with the whats. God, I wish they would fucking stop it. Even if it's something that they like, they still want a what. I was like, fuck. You people are sub 75 IQ. We got some serious stuff going on here, and your first thought is to what? Fuck you idiots. God damn. That shit makes me hate Stone Cold Steve Austin. I ain't gonna hold you up. That shit is frustrating. They've been ruining promos for 20 years with this shit. You know? You can't even take a break to, collect your thoughts without, all these idiots chanting what? Get the fuck out of here with this. But it was a solid segment. I don't know what he means by Roman and Solo are going to discuss the rules of engagement. I guess that means that they're going to come up with a stipulation for their match. Okay. I guess. I think I said this before. I'm going to say it again. But Paul, who called himself Jimmy's favorite Juso. He's a Juso. Anyway, the middleman argument where, the Usos, well, Jay Uso especially, is blaming all of this stuff on Paul. He thinks that Paul is the corrupting force when it comes to Roman Reigns. He called him a puppeteer. How anti-Semitic is this storyline? I mean, don't you guys know that anytime something bad happens in the world, you just find the nearest Jew and blame him? Don't you know that's how the world works? That's exactly what's happening in this storyline. You just find the nearest Jew and blame him. Roman ain't got no agency. It's got to be Paul. No, Roman's a dickhead because he's a dickhead. Why are we blaming Paul about this? Paul's going along for the ride. That's all. So But that's fun. It was a really fun segment as far as I'm concerned. I liked it. Jay holding down these segments by himself. They really trust him to draw in these situations. And he's not a quote unquote credible contender because they're not going to have Jay Uso win the title from Roman. It's going to be about how Roman is going to escape this match. That's going to be the big story here. Not a question of whether Roman's going to lose or not, but how is he going to win? And that can be a story in and of itself. I mean, I know some people are going to be shitty because they like my good old 50-50 anybody could win match and not, a story-based match with, a pretty much decided outcome. But it's still going to go on last because people are going to be more emotionally invested in it because they do want to see if Jey Uso has a chance. Now that they've shown that Jey can pin Roman, is he going to happen again? But I'm going to guess that Roman's going to try to pick something that doesn't require him getting pinned, which might actually be better for Jey and actually create more tension and belief that Jey could win. So maybe something like Last Man Standing might actually help Jey a little bit. I don't know if I want a Last Man Standing match because Roman and Brock had a Last Man Standing match, but they've already had I Quit. I don't think they would do a submission match or something like that. They can't do anything like First Blood. Will they do like a Hell in a Cell match? Roman and Jey Uso, Hell in a Cell, you think? Steel Cage, maybe? So there's some options there, but I don't know. It's definitely going to be an interesting discussion to see where they land on what kind of match these two are going to have. All right. Zelina Vega wrestled Bayley on this show. It was a match for no reason. Bayley comes out and she's still swinging and playing with Shotzi's hair. She's been keeping it in the briefcase. She's been keeping it in lock boxes. She's been doing all sorts of things with it. Basically, she's been playing around. So they have a short match between Bayley and Zelina Vega in which, Bayley, she didn't cheat as much as she just took advantage of an unfair situation where she draped Zelina Vega's throat over the second rope and then hit her with a rose plant and won. While Bayley was celebrating, a video played on the screen where Shotzi said that were you trying to scare me? You think you can control me? She said that she's not scared and Bayley can't control her and she might be a little weird and a little chaotic, but she's in complete control. And while she's doing this, she is shaving her head with a pair of clippers. And there's like Thriller music playing, and not Michael Jackson Thriller, but like movie Thriller music playing, and she's cackling and everything, like she's losing her mind. And so this ends up going in a completely different path than I thought. I didn't think she was going to cut it that short. Now, an uproar occurred about this on the Twitter space, as some people were like, well, I'm not. Why say some people? Your boy JD from New York was on Twitter blaming Vince McMahon for Shotzi shaving her head, and everybody else then attacked him, saying Shotzi's sister has cancer and she shaved her head in solidarity. But since she was shaving her head, they decided to use that in a storyline, which makes perfect sense to me, but I liked it even if Shotzi's sister didn't have cancer, because guess what? It's an interesting thing to do. It makes Shotzi seem more interesting that she's not running around here as one of the multicolored hair brigades. There's so many girls running around here with colored hair now. Wasn't Tegan Knox just had the full rainbow joint in her head the other day? It's like you got bras, 2 or 3 different bras running around with bright orange hair, people with bright purple hair, people with highlights and all this. And somebody just said, fuck it, I'm going to cut it all off. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. You look different now. You're not just one of the multicolored Barbie dolls running around out there. So I like it even if her sister didn't have cancer. Because it's interesting. I remember when Undertaker cut his hair because, he felt humiliated against Triple H at that WrestleMania, so he shaved all his hair off. That made less sense than this did. Undertaker shaving all his hair off made less sense than Shotzi cutting all her hair off. At least she had to even it up because Bayley cut a big chunk of her hair out. So I like this. I thought this was very interesting. It's a good character development for Shotzi. Is she going to go full Nikki Cross and be like a screaming banshee? Well, she likes to do the Scream Queen stuff. So that might be interesting. Hopefully she doesn't color the short hair. Just keep the short hair her natural hair color, whatever that is. I think it's black. So let's leave it that way. She's going to look weird for a while, but I think we'll get used to it, especially if they actually do something with her. I think it could actually be interesting. And, hey, turning something that's a tragedy into an empowering storyline, somebody who, took their victimization and flipped it, that could be interesting, I like that sometimes. Sometimes you do those things. You're like, hey, you fire me? I'm already fired. Fire me? I'm already fired. You turn your victimization into an empowering moment. So Shotzi has clumps of her own hair on her hands, and she's laughing, and she's nuts and all this kind of stuff. Okay, cool. I'm interested in seeing where they go from here. Hopefully they actually have a plan. It's not just, we got to shoot an angle because Shotzi wants to cut all her hair off. And since she's doing it for a good reason, we're just going to go ahead and do it. If they actually do something with her, then this could be fine. Now, I'm going to say something that's about to really kind of get people, either they're going to be very upset with me because they hate when I do this stuff. Like, I just compared Shotzi to Undertaker, and people are going to be like, how dare you do that? I'm like, well, if you're low IQ enough that you just see two names that you don't like and think that these two characters should not be in any way compared when the situations is what I'm comparing, then I don't know what to tell you. But I am going to compare two people now. Bayley reminds me a lot of Chris Jericho. Like, Bayley just comes across as somebody who is really good at her job, but will never be the top person in the industry. Like, it will never happen. But Bayley is at a high enough level that anybody with eyes can look and see that she has talent. If you don't need to watch wrestling that long to know that Bayley can pull off even the most ridiculous storylines. And what makes her most like Chris Jericho to me is how giving she is. How she's willing to embarrass herself. How she's willing to help anybody, put anybody over. She's willing to lose 100 matches in a row if it'll help somebody else. And that sort of thing really makes me almost admire Bayley now. Because I'm looking at this thing, she's basically put herself in this situation to do this storyline with Shotzi, where she probably didn't need to. It doesn't benefit her at all. Win, lose, it doesn't really mean that much to Bayley. All the stuff she's doing with Dakota Kai and Io Sky, even though we're shitting on all this damage control stuff, it's no different than what Jericho was trying to do with the JAS or the Inner Circle, and trying to really forcefully push other people using their own star power and their own body to do so. Unfortunately, they picked a really bad group of talent. I don't. But it is what it is. So I really look at Bayley, and she's reached Chris Jericho levels with me, where she's really good at her job. I really like Bayley. So hopefully everybody else can appreciate how good Bayley is at her job. And I think, and somebody said this, and it was going to be a video, but I'm just going to talk about it right here because why not? Somebody posted a video of the 4 horsewomen, and they said, which one's retirement is going to hurt you most? And a bunch of people said Sasha Banks, because obviously she's the most popular. I was like, really? You know who bothers you the most when they're gone? The upper mid-card guys. It's not even really the main event dudes, because main event dudes have a couple of years and then they're gone anyway, you know. But it's the mainstays, the people who are there for a really long time that you become emotionally invested in. They're not the top star, the biggest box office attraction. No, usually somebody who was there for a really long time. The Kurt Angles, you know, the Eddie Guerreros. You really miss those dudes when they're not there anymore. Yes, it sucks that there's no Stone Cold Steve Austin, but guess what? You didn't have Stone Cold Steve Austin that often when Stone Cold Steve Austin was on the top, because there was a year when he was out when he had a neck injury, and then he was in and out of the ring. When during that time, The Rock was going off to do movies. Hogan disappeared to WCW for years, and then he was in and out. So most people have never had consistency with their top guys anyway. Cena was probably the most consistent top guy. And Roman's been in and out for the last couple of years. But the mid-card guys, the guys who show up every week, who occasionally they get to the main event and then they may come back down a little bit, then they go back up. The Kurt Angles, the Jerichos, the Benoits, the Guerreros, those kinds of guys, they actually do. That actually affects the show when they're gone. Because as we see right now with the Four Horsewomen, Bayley's the only one who sticks around. You know, Becky's been in and out, whether it's injury or pregnancy. Charlotte's been in and out for whatever reason. Sasha's on excursion right now. They can all be bigger stars than Bayley. But I think when it comes to people who are just fans of the show, who watch the show, it's going to be a sad day when there's no Bayley on this show. Just like it's sort of sad that there's no Chris Jericho. That there is no equivalent of Chris Jericho on this show outside of Bayley right now. There's no male wrestler who I would say is the equivalent of Chris Jericho. I guess The Miz, you know, and it's going to be sad when The Miz is gone. There's going to be a time there where there's no Miz. It's like there's going to be a time there where there's no Randy Orton. Like right now, there's no Randy Orton. You know, like sometimes the top stars, you kind of get it in your head that they're 1 foot out the door anyway because they're a big top, you know, box office attraction. They're going to run off to Hollywood or whatever. But then there's going to be those guys who are right underneath there. Those are going to be your guys, you know. It's really going to suck. Like they really sucked when there was no Mr. Perfect for a while. You know, it was terrible with no Ted DiBiase, with no Ravishing Rick Rude. You know, when Macho Man left, like boy, that's when the new generation era started taking over, and the attendance and everything, and the ratings started going down. Not just because Hogan left, but because all the other people who was, you know, the B players, they all left too. You know, Hogan leaving, okay, but if we still got Ravishing Rick Rude and Mr. Perfect and Ted DiBiase and Randy Savage and Jake Snake Roberts and all of them, Roddy Piper, we can still do something. But when Piper's gone and Savage is gone and everybody's gone, it's like, oh, fuck, you got to rebuild the whole goddamn roster at this point. And that's when business is hurt the most, is when your good hands are no longer available. You know, that's when shit starts hitting the fan. That's when shit starts sucking. You know, that's when stuff get really bad, because now there's nobody out there. You're trying to build people. There's nobody out there really to help them. You know, that's what the Chris Jerichos and the Kurt Angles and all those guys, that's where they really shine, is being able to have feuds and matches with anybody on the card at any level. Like when Kurt Angle was working in the X division in TNA, he didn't have to do that shit. He was doing it because he was trying to help people, trying to elevate them. And he was an A-level star in TNA, don't get me wrong. But he wasn't Mr. TNA. That was AJ Styles. Kurt Angle was just the most marketable guy on that show. He was a big fish in a small pond. Chris Jericho's the same position right now in AEW. You know? Big fish, small pond. And Bayley is a big fish in a small pond of the women's division. So she has to put herself out there and catch all the bullets and everything with these. But unfortunately, if you give these people too much creative control, they do shit like Damage Control, and they do stuff like Mimosa Mayhem, and, you know, because they're idiot wrestlers. But they're really valuable idiot wrestlers. So I think that Bayley will be the most upsetting when she's gone from of the Four Horsewomen, Because we can live life without Sasha Banks. I mean, praise God Sasha Banks ain't around right now. The crew is so fucking annoying. I mean, I prefer a world without Charlotte. I mean, I love Charlotte. She's a really good wrestler, but I mean, she's pretty much pigeonholed at the top of the company right now. And Becky, I don't know. You know, there's times where I really like Becky, then there's times where I can't stand her. I'm at the point right now where I'm in the middle. I'm kind of indifferent to Becky. I don't necessarily think she's great, but I don't necessarily think she's terrible either. I just think that she's good enough to do what she's doing, and that's about it. You know, I like Big Time Bex. I thought it was fun. Her and Rollins being goofy, but now she's trying to be divine again, and I'm just kind of like shrug, whatever. I went off on like a wild tangent there. Sorry, but if you watch listen to this video, I might as well make it interesting as possible. I mean, we all watched Smackdown, didn't we? So, okay, now, because I went on that long rant, I don't know where I am on my notes. Oh, I was talking about Bayley because I wanted to mention this. People don't know that Bayley is Hispanic. So I was thinking, like, during this entire storyline, or this portion of this match right here, wouldn't it have made sense for Bayley to say, I should be a member of the LWO? Like, I'm Latino. I'm a Latina. And even if let's say the crowd didn't know that, that would be something that would be interesting to bring up. And if she could just start calling herself Bayley Martinez or whatever, just as a short thing to get into it with Zelina Vega about, like, that's something that would have been fun. Like, if she would have cut Shotzi's hair and then the next minute she's trying to bully her way into the LWO because she's a Latino, and then we have to come up with a reason why she's not in. Like, we know why Dominic's not in the LWO. Because Dominic hates Ray. And, you know, got to come up with a reason why Raquel's not in it. You know, she's Latino, but maybe she's just not in it. Whatever. Maybe they just didn't ask. But it seems like it would be something that somebody like Bayley would be offended by. Or at least something her character is so petty that she would be offended by it. Like, how can you guys talk about Latino culture and I'm not in it? You know? Like, it should be all about her. And I think that this would have been a perfectly fine storyline if you would have did what I said. And they still could do it. You know, there's plenty more weeks in the year. But to have Zelina Vega just go out there and lose to Bayley without putting any effort into it doesn't really help Zelina. It doesn't help her at all. You could have picked somebody else to do this job if you just wanted to do a job. But I don't know. I spent way too much time on this. Now I'm lost, and I don't know where I am on my notes. Jesus Christ. Oh, okay. All right, Bobby Lashley. So Lashley shows up, and he's hanging out with the Street Profits, apparently. What could be happening here? So the segment is that apparently Montez Ford has been in contact with somebody, and he's saying if he said he's going to be here, he's going to be here. So this limo, stretch limo, van, truck, or whatever, I don't know cars, shows up, and Lashley steps out. He's in a suit. So he's in that mode. He in that mode again, baby. The Street Profits, he dap him up, get in the truck, and then he gets in behind them. And we're teasing something here. We're cooking something here. What you seasoning over there? You know, they putting some seasoning on this thing. Okay. I wonder what's happening, because the Street Profits haven't been part of a storyline in ages. I mean, they've just been floating here and there for a long time. They haven't been doing shit. And since Triple H took over, Lashley's barely been featured on this show. Like, he's barely even on the show at all, period. So, putting them two crews together, I'm interested in what's going to happen here. I know a lot of people are saying, like, oh, Hurt Business 2.0. It's like, you can't recreate the Hurt Business. You just can't do it. Maybe you could do something different. Maybe you could do something similar. But you can't just look. The Hurt Business was basically evolution. You know, you had your talker, your voice, the oldest guy, your old head is MVP. That he was in the Flair role. Flair was basically out of the ring at that point. He took bumps in the managerial role, but he was mostly the talker. The same thing MVP was. Lashley was the centerpiece. He's the champion. He's the top guy. He's your present. That was your Triple H's role in Evolution. He's the now. He's the guy right now. Batista was the muscle. Batista was the enforcer. He was almost always paired up with the talker, because the talker talks for him. Batista didn't get to do a lot of talking. It was Flair doing all the talking for him. And in this situation, that would be Shelton Benjamin. So Shelton Benjamin was he was older, but he was a tough old dude. Like, you knew about Shelton, how his athleticism and his background and everything. He had a reputation. Shelton could stretch you if he wanted to. So that was Shelton's role. Of course, you had the young gun. Cedric Alexander, the guy you looking forward to the future, the guy you trying to push in the future. And he was in the Randy Orton spot. You can't recreate that with a tag team, You can't recreate that with like Montez Ford and D'Angelo Dawkins. I'm sorry, you can't do it. I like the pairing, Lashley and the Street Profits, but I want it to be something different. I want it to be something wildly different from the Hurt Business. It can look similar, but I want it to be built off different, on different foundations. It's also weird that they're breaking up factions and then building new factions at the same time. That's a little weird, but since it involves Lashley and the Street Profits, and I love both of those things, I'm okay with it. I'm cool with it. I'm gonna sit back and see what they do. It sucks that it took them so long to figure out whatever it is they were going to do. But nice to see Lashley here finally. Okay. So all in all, it was a solid enough SmackDown. The Jey Uso stuff was very good. The women's title stuff was okay. It was just very overbooked, a little too much of it. I hate the United States title invitational. Come on, just do a real tournament. Build a contender and a feud. Yeah, we already know it's going to be LA Knight versus Austin Theory. We already know that. Just build the match between the two guys. They teased Theory and Waller, but they're both heels, and they're basically the same fucking character. They should be teaming up. They should be teaming up. They should be partners. They should be buddies. They should be friends. I don't understand how you're trying to build stables and stuff, and you don't see the clear similarities between Waller and Theory. Like, they work together. I think if you put those two together, you got something. So maybe after Theory loses the United States title to LA Knight, and he should, because he's not doing anything with it, then maybe make him a tag team with Grayson Waller and you push him as a tag team. That would be fun. Waller's a little bit older, but he's less experienced. So it ought to be an interesting dynamic where he's got the mouth, Theory's got the body, the physique, and the experience, even though he's younger. And you could really have something there between these two arrogant characters. That could be fun. So I hate the United States title invitational. It's Triple H crutch with these stupid fatal four-ways. The Bayley and Shotzi stuff was interesting. Bayley being sort of upset that Shotzi is not as bothered by losing her hair as she should be. Still too much brawling brutes on this show. People like the brawling brutes, but so much Butch. It's like, for Christ's sake, this is probably the most utilized Butch has ever been. It's time to get some new people on this show and move Butch the fuck out the way. I'm just saying. I know y'all probably like Butch. I'm just kind of like, look, he's okay and all, but they're doing the Chad Gable with him. They figure if you just throw him in your face enough, everybody's gonna like him. But it's like, nah, because the more you show him to me, the more I'm finding problems with it. Like, the more you do this, the worse it gets. But overall, though, the show was solid. I didn't hate it. What did you guys think? Let me know in the comment section below. Like, share, subscribe. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out.